Well, welcome to day 2, BIA Kelsey Conference. Thank you for being here. Everybody managed to find a way to have a good time last night here in Austin? Excellent. Good place to be? Excellent. Okay, so our opening keynote, we're going to hear from Matt Baker, who runs SMB partnerships for Facebook. Facebook is increasingly being used by SMBs as a major new channel, and Facebook recently hit their milestone of 1 million SMBs as advertisers on this platform. Facebook has worked hard to kind of retool themselves in a number of different ways, getting into mobile advertising and also coming up with new tools, techniques, and relationships with SMBs that Matt's going to help us understand a little bit better. How can SMBs use social media to drive their business and get better customer engagement and really differentiate themselves in the marketplace? Matt is responsible for helping small businesses find their success on Facebook through trusted marketing partners, that whole ecosystem that makes things so much more valuable. Matt brings 12 years of experience in digital marketing and measurement across search, display, email, and social. So let me welcome Matt to come and share some of his thought with us, and then we'll take some questions. I do want to remind you we've got the Twitter feed if you don't want to wait for a microphone to come to you or you want to get the question off just as you're thinking of it. Hashtag SMBQ. So please send your questions in, and please help me welcome Matt to the stage.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Rick. Thanks for having me. We've had a lot of great content and a lot of great discussions over the last couple of days, or last day, and we'll continue the next day and a half or so. So I hope you guys are enjoying them. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm a new resident of Austin, so recently transitioned here. So I hope you're enjoying the city as much as I am. Rick and the folks at BIA Kelsey asked me to come up here and share with you guys a little bit behind the momentum that we've been having over the last year. You've probably heard some of the press. I'll share some of the stats. But we've been building momentum with small businesses, and so what I'd like to talk about is sort of what we've learned in that process, what we're working on now, and where we see the biggest opportunities for you folks, both for yourselves and in working with Facebook. Okay, so this is me. I'm Matt Baker. I guess I already did that part, but you can see all of the information about me. This is a little foreshadowing for later, so I'll just let this sink in for a second. But you can see that I'm a new resident of Austin. I'm from Everett. I'm married. I have a kid who just started playing soccer, all that fun stuff. So let's get to why this matters for small businesses. 18 million active local small businesses on Facebook. Up about 2 million over the course of this year. 1 million advertisers we announced a few months ago, more than double from a year ago. You've heard those stats, you've seen those stats, so I won't dwell on them too much. But I do want to talk about what we've learned in the process of getting there. And so I'm going to share a few things. A couple of them, the first ones I'll start off with, will probably seem a little obvious. But I'm going to share them anyway, and I think they're important because of what Dick and Tom talked about, which is like the small things really do matter. Those little friction points really do matter. And part of our success has been in removing those friction points. So what's moving people to advertise? You know that small businesses find their dollars to be very precious to them, and more of them are spending those dollars on Facebook. Why are they doing that? First of all, simplification. Simplification really does matter. We've been investing a lot in this area to make things just flat out easier for small businesses. What does this look like to you? A mess. I'll say it. Looks like a mess. A year ago, this was our sort of an overview of our ad products. 64 ad products. 64 ad products with overlapping objectives that could be used individually or in combination in thousands of different ways, right? Like that's super complicated. That's complicated for big businesses. It's overwhelming and next to impossible for small businesses. So we've been on a path to clean that up, to simplify our ad products, and just to make it very easy. So here's one example, consistent structure, clear call to action, consistency across ad products, a couple different ad types. You get it. We can move on to the next point. Next one, we've implemented sort of a 2-click buying methodology to remove a lot of that friction. You tell us who you want to reach, how much you want to spend, and we do everything else. And this has been extraordinarily successful with small businesses. Hundreds of thousands of small businesses have tried this over the last year. Most of them are coming back and using it over and over and over again. One such small business, Rice Creek Family Dentistry, they've used this. They drove, through promoted posts, through the ad that you just saw, they drove a 20% uptick in new patient traffic into their 2 offices, and drove a 26x return on their ad spend. Right? They got 350 new leads simply by using promoted posts. And it's funny, I was talking about this yesterday with Lauren. Dentists really love Facebook. It's really interesting, but they're finding a lot of success. And that's just one example of those kinds of businesses. Okay, another thing we've done, content creation. I think that has come up a couple of times about how hard that is for small businesses. Just last month, a few weeks ago, we launched this integration with Shutterstock to address that problem, to help small businesses find high quality content that they can use in their ads and in their marketing to find more success. So hopefully next time I'll have some numbers to share, but this is new and meant to address that problem. Okay, number 2, this is also something you've heard over and over again. People are moving to their mobile devices, and they're moving there very rapidly. That's not news. But what are we doing about it? So 1 in every 5 minutes on mobile is spent on Facebook and Instagram. That's good for us, but within that, we are making a specific effort to make those minutes more actionable. And we think that will be better for consumers and also better for businesses, as people can more quickly connect with the things they want. One example, a redesign of the mobile landing page for businesses, right? Pulling forward front and center the information that you really want, the ability to call. Imagine that on a mobile phone. Directions, check-in, all that kind of stuff. Just bringing that right to the forefront. And the data we've seen, I don't think we share any of it publicly, but the data we've seen has been very encouraging that this is the right direction, and we're creating a lot of engagement, a lot of interaction, a lot of discovery is happening, and a lot of people are finding directions and going to those businesses. On this slide, we launched, just last month as well, we launched the integration with Opentable. So the ability to make a reservation right on your phone. You see your friend is checked in at a restaurant, you're reminded, hey, I wanted to check that place out too. Let's see if they have any tables open on Friday. And just do it all right there within your mobile phone very quickly and very efficiently. And then most importantly, small business owners are users of Facebook as well. And so we have an app, I don't know how broadly it's known in this group, but we have an app that's specifically meant for business owners to manage their presence and manage their page on Facebook. We found great success with this. So as business owners have moved to mobile, they've also been adopting this, more than double since the beginning of the year. But the ability to quickly go in, take some photos, upload them to their page, write a quick update, all those kinds of things. Because as we all know, small business owners are strapped for time and they're always on the go. And so having the ability to do that from your mobile device rather than your desktop or your laptop has proven to be very effective. Okay, so enough of the obvious stuff. Where I want to spend the rest of my time is really focused on what I think is the biggest and most interesting shift happening on Facebook right now. And that's this. Businesses are now using Facebook as a marketing platform and not just a social platform. So the evolution of our product set over the last 12 to 18 months has really enabled marketers and businesses to take advantage of the properties of Facebook to drive against real, traditional marketing objectives, things that they've understood from offline and things that they've been doing for decades in other forms of media. It's not just about being social. It's not just about likes and PTAT. I don't even know if any of us even know what that means, including myself. Those social metrics, those aren't what businesses really care about. You know this. They care about getting more business, getting more customers to come back, increasing the average ticket price. Those kinds of things. And so Facebook, the evolution of our product set has really allowed businesses to start taking advantage of that. I want to talk a little bit more about what that means. So first and foremost, what that means is as a small business owner, you can reach all of the people that matter to you anytime, anywhere. Whether that's on their desktop or on their mobile phone, right, as they're out and about. This can be a really important vehicle for delivering your message to the right people at the right time. You've seen the stats I won't bore you with them, but I will show them quickly. Right? 128 million people will use Facebook today in the US. 101 million of them will be on their mobile device. That's, and they use it a lot. Right? 90% of US smartphone owners will check their newsfeed at least once today. 63% will check it somewhere between twice and all day long. You probably know some of those people. I know I certainly do. So what's really important about that from a Facebook perspective is that as those people are using Facebook, we have something that most companies don't have. We have real identity. We have authentic identity. So I showed you the foreshadowing of my slide earlier, right? Facebook knows who I am. I'm Matt Baker. I live in Austin. I moved here 3 weeks ago. I'm married. I went to the University of Pennsylvania, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Facebook has all this data about me as a real person, which means that as a marketer, I can much more accurately target the audience that I'm really going after. No longer am I casting my message into a group that I think has the people I want to reach, and hopefully they see it. But I can actually get my message to the people I want to reach, because I can target with an accuracy that's not found elsewhere. These numbers from Nielsen OCR from late last year, 27% reach for narrow targeting, which is the hardest targeting to do, right? 27% accuracy for narrow targeting, 91% accuracy for narrow targeting on Facebook. That's important because it allows you to deliver the most relevant message at the right time to the right consumers. Of course, the simple math means that this makes it more efficient, right? You will drive a lower cost per acquisition when you have less waste. So less waste and guesswork, lower cost per acquisition. This is also from aggregate knowledge from late last year. And when those stats were pulled, newsfeed ads were not as prevalent as they are today. And what we've seen with newsfeed ads, this is from DataLogic, second quarter of this year, is that newsfeed ads are roughly twice as effective, roughly twice as good at driving a return on ad spend. So those numbers that I just showed you in the last couple of slides should be even better for small businesses. Okay, so here's a quick overview of the targeting. I don't want to get into the technical details, but here's where I think it really matters for you all, because targeting is hard. We know from our data that targeting is the hardest part about advertising on Facebook. And consumers need help. Small businesses need help in doing that. So I want to talk kind of about the main buckets and then really get into where I think the biggest opportunity is for this room. The first is standard audiences. Quickly, these are the data points that Facebook has, right? Where I live, where I went to school, male, female, relationship status, all that stuff, as well as third-party data. So which you're probably familiar with from a lot of offline constructs, but is DataLogic, Axiom, all those folks who bring different sets of data to the table. That falls under standard audiences. Custom audiences is a really great thing that we've released recently, which is about you bringing your data to Facebook, matching that with our data in privacy-safe ways, of course, and then delivering targeting directly to the people that you want to reach, and moving people through your own funnel and your own CRM system. And then modeled audiences, you probably know as lookalike targeting. We won't spend a ton of time on that, but let's drill in a little bit. So standard audiences, I'll move through this relatively quickly. I think you get it, but basically allows you to both target the things that you're familiar with on Facebook, as well as hit the things that you're familiar with in the offline constructs. So things like, premium brand buyers, in market for an entry-level car, first-time mortgage households, those kinds of things. All the things that you've probably used offline or seen used offline, you can now start using on Facebook. Custom audiences. I think I mostly explained this, but you have your data, you have Facebook data, you put them together, and you create some really powerful targeting. And this allows you not just to reach, again, people that you think are like the people you want to reach, but actually reach the people you want to reach, your customers. You can reach out to the person who's come in once and not come back and try to draw them back in. You can reach out to your loyal customers and reward them in the newsfeed. You can reach out to the folks who maybe haven't been back in a while and entice them back into the store. So that can be very, very powerful. And then lastly, modeled audiences. Finding more of the people who look like your best customers. So taking those custom audiences and then using our sophisticated algorithms to find more people that exhibit those same attributes, those same behaviors, all those kinds of things, and then targeting against those. a little build here. Okay. So here's just one example, a case study of a company. They drive 50% of their mobile traffic through Facebook using some of the techniques I just described and more. And the quote from Jason is, "Without telling any of our secrets, I will say that Facebook can get you in front of people in a way that traditional media does not." What's important about this is I actually don't have a ton of case studies to share with you on the targeting that I just talked about. And the reason is, well, I do, but they're all big companies. They're all big brands with huge marketing departments who think about this stuff all day and they execute against it. Where the opportunity really lies is for this room to start bringing these techniques and tactics that large businesses are using and bringing it and making them accessible for small businesses. It's related to the panel conversation yesterday that a lot of people keep referring back to. It's making that complexity sort of go away, using technology to move that away, and then adding value through services for small businesses. Okay, so here are the opportunities. If you leave this room with one thing that you remember from this speech, it's that you should be thinking outside the social box. If you're only thinking about likes and PTAT and page posts to drive engagement, those are fine. I don't want you to stop thinking about those things. But what I encourage you to do is don't stop there. There's so much more you can be doing, and there's so much more value you can be bringing to small businesses by thinking truly about what matters to them, which we all know is driving more business, and thinking about ways you can leverage the reach, the targeting, and the newsfeed of Facebook to drive more business for your customers. Data. Think about your data. Likely you have a great deal of really valuable data about and for your customers. You can use that data for custom audiences, bring that to Facebook, increase the accuracy of your targeting, increase the efficiency and effectiveness of your campaigns, and drive amazing results. I mentioned before, I won't dwell on it, you can bring these big company marketing tactics to small businesses. Again, targeting is hard. I don't expect we'll create a two-click solution around some of these complex targeting techniques. That's where there's real opportunity to innovate, to integrate with what you're already doing, and to bring that value to your customers. And lastly, extend your solutions onto our open platform. So the panel yesterday discussed a lot about the movement towards software as a solution, and our platform has always been open in that regard. So it allows you to take what I think Michael from Valpak said really well, take your core competencies, deeply understand what they are, and then extend them through APIs and through technology to our platform to scale to the size of the number of customers that you all have and the size of businesses that we all want to be within this space. You have to do it through technology. So that's a good place to start. Start there and build the Facebook Exchange, build into the preferred marketing developer program, or build on our APIs directly. And with that, I want to thank, whoops, wrong way. I want to just thank you. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you having me. I'll turn it back over to Rick for a little Q&A.
Great. Thank you very much, Matt. Come have a seat. I'll start off with some questions, and again, I'll encourage the audience to offer in questions using the Twitter feed, hashtag SMBQ. Send in your questions, and I'll ask those over to Matt. But to get started, one thing I was wondering about, you've got these kind of cool new platforms and APIs to open up the marketing platform, not just the social platform for SMBs. And we've been talking about, Dick and Tom are up here talking about franchises, and then our own research shows that SMBs will do an increasing amount of digital marketing. They're not necessarily expert at it. Some of their media weights and allocations may not be the most effective. Their creative strategies may not be the most effective. But they're very excited about Facebook. So a lot of them will use Facebook, and they try to use it themselves. The positioning and education and the tools you're providing to the small and medium businesses are pretty exciting. But these businesses oftentimes are associated with national brands. And are you, what kind of tools or administrative controls are you going to be offering brands to manage what's happening with their local either affiliates or independent dealers or franchisees?
Yeah, that's a great question and an interesting challenge. I don't know that I think we've started to wade into those waters. There are certainly lots of creative ways that you can combine the APIs. I don't know that any one has totally nailed it yet. The things we will probably focus more on this in the future, but the things we have done most recently is to start to bring that structure into Facebook. So call it 6 months ago, Facebook didn't understand that Starbucks on one corner was related to Starbucks, the corporate brand, and so those pages were completely disconnected, and you couldn't do anything that was that was coordinated at all.
Right.
But we did go and create a thing called locations, a locations hierarchy. There are APIs for this as well, and you can mention in the UI as well. But to start to create those relationships, that's kind of the first step. It doesn't really do much except connect them, but it's the first step towards allowing a more coordinated messaging campaign or marketing campaign amongst the different levels. But there's a lot more to do there, and frankly, I think that you all can probably push forward faster than we can in that area.
One of the things, when you make the transition from Facebook as a social platform to Facebook as a marketing platform for SMBs, and they are trying to do that themselves, coming up with their own best practices. But there was a study released by the Content Marketing Institute, and I was thinking of that when you were showing your numbers of display versus content messaging coming up in the news feeds, and you get a much better lift if it's content in that news feed. So the SMBs struggle with that content. They understand that content helps drive engagement, stickiness, and it's more than just an ad. It actually has some value for people, but they're not necessarily so good at that. This study by the Content Marketing Institute shows that about 31% of SMBs with 10 to 99 employees, that kind of category, that are selling to other businesses, B2B SMBs. How many acronyms can you string together? So about a third of their budget is spent on content marketing, and 80% of these companies use Facebook to distribute their content. They say their biggest challenges appearing in that sponsored newsfeed or content marketing generally is we can't produce enough content, and of the content we produce, it's not really great.
Yeah, it's a big challenge. Totally agree, and I do think it's an area that's ripe for innovation. So one of the things I showed was our integration with Shutterstock. I think that's a step in that direction. It's certainly not sufficient and does not solve the entire problem. So there's room for much more innovation in that space. What I will say, though, going in the way back files from earlier in the digital days, one of the interesting findings that when I worked at the Atlas Institute from long ago was actually that who you reached was more important than what you said. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot has changed in the last decade or more, but I think that probably still holds true. And I think part of the point I'm making about not just thinking about Facebook as social and thinking about it more as marketing is that I think people feel inherently a lot of pressure to post 3 times a week, and oh my gosh, what do I say?
Right.
But if you pivot more to really strong targeting groups, a good understanding of your customer segments, who you want to reach and what you want them to do, I think the problem becomes a little easier. Okay. It doesn't become easy, but it becomes a little easier and a little more manageable. And I think you all can help drive people in that direction and give them guidance in that area.
Everyone has to do their part. Okay, let me take a Twitter question here. This is from Shannon Kinney. Her question is, we manage hundreds of successful campaigns. Any plans to launch agency support for ads, agency billing?
Yeah, it's a good question and a popular one. I don't have anything to announce today, but it is something that I'm spending a lot of time on right now, and so hopefully we'll have something to talk about in the not too distant future.
Perhaps our December conference.
Perhaps.
Now, I want to go back to this concept about likes and dislikes. I know we're moving from social and as kind of a metric and outcome and into marketing. Yeah. But there was another study that came out, and this is sort of a group of academics led by some MIT researchers and some other researchers. And they're looking at this notion of the value of a like. And it is a little bit interesting and maybe counterintuitive. I don't know. I think maybe you're familiar with the study or sort of this general trend of studies, but it's the wisdom of the crowd. So it turns out that this study manipulated likes and dislikes for the same web page, and then watched what happened following on. So if a page gets a like, it's more likely to get more likes, a lot more likely, in fact. So whatever the currency or value of a like is, it gets inflated by that first opinion, the opinion leader kind of phenomenon. But a little bit maybe counterintuitively, if you, in this research, if they disliked a page, it basically had no effect. So the power of a like is a multiplier, and the power of a dislike is nothing. Do you see that kind of phenomenon in different ways, and what do you think is going on there?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I was a psychology major.
I know that, yes.
And without wading, you would find that on Facebook. Without wading too deep into sort of the academics behind it, there's a lot at play there, right? There's a lot going on there. I think, how much one matters, how you implement it. I know the gentleman from Yelp talked about this a little yesterday, and how they try to make sure the signal is clean and pure and all that, and that's good. I just step back a little bit and say, for the last 150 years, small businesses have cared most about word of mouth recommendations more than anything else. So how that's implemented online, I think, will continue to evolve and change to address some of these biases that we have and some of the gaming and the game theory that goes on. But in the end of the day, that's what marketers really want, right? They want the strongest recommendation is that recommendation from your friend that says, hey, I just did this and it was great, you should do it too. So the mechanics will change over time, but I still think that that is exactly what we're going after in this space, and just trying to make sure it all connects together so that businesses can properly get those recommendations from people who really do care about their business, and their friends can hear about it. Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you went through a number of examples of best practices and some of the tools you're using, and gave some examples about the click, the kind of engagement thing. Do you have any kind of favorite case studies of SMBs that, not just one-off, but they're really kind of putting it together as a program that is like, wow, we wish more of our SMBs would do that?
Yeah, we have so historically, I would say this is an area that we have not done a good job for small businesses is really capturing the best practices. We recently hired a new leader of our marketing communications team, and his focus for the next 6 months is just cranking out 1,000 case studies to really capture the best things that are happening out there, and give you examples across the variety of industries and the different ways that they're using our products. So I don't have a ton to share at the moment. These will all live on our /marketing page, so Facebook/marketing. You can go check that stuff out, and over time that catalog and that library will just grow and grow and grow. And we're making good traction, but we're not where we need to be on that yet.
Any questions from the floor? Take a pause here, see if there's anybody from the floor that would like to ask a question or a comment. Okay. One other thing, there's been some discussion about getting deeper into the stack or kind of lock in and the SaaS kind of involvement. And the idea is if you can offer a set of integrated solutions to the SMBs, it becomes more powerful for them, easier for them to use. I mean, they're not too many SMBs have the CIO position staffed. You did an example with Opentable, where you're adding more value to what's going on with at least businesses in that category. Is that successful, and how do you see that? Any other plans to add that kind of functionality going forward? Yeah,
the data. So the data, it's early. It was just launched, so I don't have a ton of data by which to measure success. But I think Facebook has always taken an open platform philosophy. And while there are things that are core to the experience that we will go after and try to improve, and perhaps even make acquisitions in those space over time, there are a lot of things that we either won't get to in the near term or maybe won't ever get to, and that's where we see partners of all shapes and sizes sort of plugging in. So I would say, for the right integrations that really do add value, it makes a lot of sense. I actually know some of the folks in this room are working on related things. Nothing is launched, so there's nothing to talk about at the moment, but I think you'll start to see some of those things come to market over the next several months.
Cool. Last chance for questions. There's a question somewhere. No? Okay. Well, let me just give you, we got just a few seconds left. Any you kind of put out to the group here, there's an opportunity for you to contribute to what's going on next. What would you like to see this group working on to have a win-win solution so we can all move ahead in this marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, I'll make the point again related to what Michael from Valpak had said on the stage, which I thought was just really well said, and that's it's really about Facebook has some core competencies, you have some core competencies. I think together those can be oftentimes quite synergistic. And so the most fruitful conversations are when we can just sit down and talk about what you're working on, how you think that can integrate, leverage, start with the technology, right? You'd be surprised by the number of conversations I have where no one's even looked to see what what the APIs are like and what the gaps might be or whatever relative to what they're trying to accomplish. So that's a great place to start, because then we can really get into the details of how to make it successful.
Awesome, Matt.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Thank you.